Hello friends, it's Benita with Knitting in the Mitten, and I'm making brownies tonight because we have a concert at the Conference Center in Lawrence, Michigan tomorrow, Friday the 22nd of March, and it's dueling pianos. It's going to be super fun. It was super fun last time, so come and listen to it and have fun with us. But we need some baked goods because we have baked goods for people to take and leave a Goodwill donation. So I'm making brownies, and I thought that making brownies would be a life skill that I should make sure my nieces know how to do. And as they know, I don't make anything from a box, well, most of the time. So we're making them from scratch. So here goes. Truthfully, the hardest part of this whole process is figuring out which direction to hang the camera so you can see it. But the recipe calls for bittersweet chocolate, which I feel like I couldn't find that last time. But this time, this is what I found. So it calls for 8 ounces, and each package is 4 ounces. So we need 2 of those, and we need to chop it up. So I have a food processor. I would probably normally do that in, but then you gotta wash the food processor. So I think this worked beautifully. Check it out. Plus I got my aggressions out, which you're not supposed to hit stuff to get your aggressions out. That's unhealthy and not recommended, but made me feel better. I always say, just because something works doesn't mean it's right. You're getting lots of life lessons today, folks, in the making of brownies. All right, look at that. We got some chopped chocolate. In case you are wondering, we are using the Fudgy Chocolate Chunk Brownie recipe from the Food Network magazine, October 2013. I'm sure you can just Google that name and find it. So it tells us to preheat the oven to 325. My oven tends to be hot, and I know that because I have a thermometer in there. So I'm setting it to 300-ish, and we'll see what happens. We have lined our 9 by 13 inch baking dish with foil, leaving an overhang on 2 sides. So I hope I did that right. And we are supposed to butter the foil. A lot of times I use spray, which I don't really like to do that because that seems like, how did they get the spray in the can in the first place? Is that healthy? I'm sure butter is so much healthier. So we are buttering this pan because we do not want these lovely brownies to stick to anything. That would be a shame if we made brownies and then we couldn't get them out of the pan. Okay, this is a sifter. Somebody might say you don't need to sift things, but if it says sift, it must be there for a reason. So I'm going to sift it. If you don't have a sifter, I think you could probably try to use like a colander, that's like a wire colander, and shake it through there. But we're going to actually use a sifter. Flour, cocoa powder, and salt. 1.5 cups of flour, a 1/2 cup of cocoa. I'm using special dark cocoa. I don't know which way to hold it so you can see it right side up. I learned that Dutch process cocoa, which if you look for cocoa, you might find Dutch process. It's not the same as cocoa. I think it has something else in it, like baking powder or something. I don't know, you'd have to Google it, but they're not interchangeable. So we are adding a 1/2 cup of cocoa, and then a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Okay, and now we get to sift. it's so fun. We have sifted. Melt the butter and the chopped chocolate in a large saucepan. I added 12 tablespoons of unsalted butter, and I don't really have anywhere to hang this phone while I stir it, so I'm going to melt this butter and the chocolate until it's smooth, so about 4 minutes. All right, we are to beat 6 eggs. The eggs I get from my friend Anne, sometimes are pretty big, so I actually know how much an egg is supposed to weigh, and I know because I weighed them, because I'm that exact. I don't want to waste anything. I know I only need 5 of these eggs, and that's good to know. So when you are using eggs, you always want to crack them into a separate bowl. Again, you might be shaking your head at me thinking she's ridiculous, but especially if you're getting fresh eggs, but even if you're getting ones from the store, sometimes they can be bloody. I know that's disgusting, but you don't want to crack a bloody egg into your good eggs because you weren't following these directions. So crack them into a separate bowl. Always a good idea. All right, and then we are to beat that. So I have this giant 8-cup measuring cup, glass measuring cup that I really like. And I'll be able to pour these eggs out really easily from this measuring cup. So those are beaten. And we've melted the butter and the chocolate. We're to cool it slightly. What does that mean? How long is slightly? I've got quite the mess. My brother and sister-in-law, who I used to live with, I drove them crazy because I use lots of dishes. But when you cook, sometimes that happens. Okay, I don't know. It's cooled for a couple minutes. Is that slightly? We are to add 2 cups of sugar. Oh, it's looking kind of like brownie. Smelling like brownie. Too bad you aren't here to lick the spoon, which you're not supposed to do anyway. All right. Eggs. Okay. Did not think those eggs were ever going to get mixed in, but looks like they did. So now we're going to stir in the flour mixture. All right, I'll tell you, you got to have a strong arm to mix brownies, apparently. All right, we're going to mix in a bunch of the chunks. I don't think I used these chunks last time. I think I used chocolate chips. This is going to be good. All right, now we are to pour it in the pan. Okay, here's the before picture. We're going to put them in the oven and bake them for 40 minutes. And then stick a toothpick in and see if it comes out slightly moist. And then we're going to cool them completely and give them a try. Okay, to balance out the brownies that are baking in the oven, I came out to the greenhouse to pick the spinach because somehow it survived the polar vortex. I have no idea how, because in the winter there's no heat in here, and when it's -5 degrees outside Fahrenheit, it's -5 degrees in the greenhouse. So look at all the spinach I got, and there's still more there. I did not pick it all. I picked as much as I could in the 14 minutes I was waiting for the brownies to be done. I will keep some in the fridge because my favorite breakfast is a spinach omelet with manchego cheese from Trader Joe's, which is not a sponsor. And I'm going to freeze the rest. So I'll saute it and I'll squeeze out all the water and I'll freeze it, and it'll be great for crustless quiche this spring and summer. So spinach. Okay, because we put foil in the pan and it was hanging over the sides, I could just lift it out of there. Look at that. And then I'll cut it up and I'll put it in little baggies for the concert tomorrow night. So if you come, maybe you can pick up some brownies and leave a little donation. Thanks.